Good evening, Talking After Dark family, and welcome back to another episode where we will start with part two of what do you do while you're waiting to move on. So I hope that after our last conversation about how to prepare yourself for moving on, part two would like to talk about the fact that moving on is not always an easy task to perform. It is not always pretty. It's not easy. It's not what you want to do. It's not where you would have yourself or what you can imagine yourself being in a certain situation sometimes, but life happens. And when life happens, we find ourselves in situations and circumstances doing things that we didn't think that we would be doing, or having to do things that we don't want to do, but we need to do. So, as I think about it, moving on sometimes, or sometimes the separation from a relationship is not always a bad thing. I know that when you've been in a relationship for a while with someone and you've established a relationship with them of long tenure, those relationships that are 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years for some people, it's hard to recoup from that sometimes. It's hard to move on. It's hard to get yourself together. It's hard to imagine yourself with someone else when you've been with another person for X amount of years or X amount of time. And that's one of those situations when you realize you just have to move on. The funny part about moving on is that, and one of the things that makes it hard is that you can't tell yourself how to love or who to love. Sometimes, your heart loves something longer than your mind does. Your mind knows that for your own health, your own safety, your own life situations and circumstances, you need to move on, and you accept the fact that you need to move on, but your heart still lingers. It still moves on. It still hangs in there. It still stays there and tries to fight the good fight. It still tries to find a way to get you guys back together. It still tries to find a way to make it work, to make it last. But sometimes it may not always be the best thing. It may not be the right thing, but you have got to get to the point where your heart and your mind are in agreement with the process, with the course of action that you need to take, not want to, but need to take for the betterment of your life, your situation, and your circumstances. There is, I said earlier that there is a great benefit to sometimes separating from one person and moving on with your life. And the benefit of that is, and I'm sure it's a benefit that your heart will want to do without because of the aches and the pains and all of those things that you experience when you're going through those traumatic breakups and situations. But look at it like this. If you are going to live your best life, if you are going to put your best foot forward, and if you're going to love yourself like you love somebody else or love the other person, just think about this. If the relationship didn't work, if the relationship didn't last, it doesn't matter whose fault it is or whose fault it was. The fact that you guys are no longer together is suggestive that that's not where they want to be. And it may not be where you need to be. So if you consider that and you really, really, really think about that, think about the position that is putting you in to find someone or to be with someone that does want to be there, that does want to be with you specifically. So think about how awesome, how wonderful, and how great that can be, having the opportunity to meet that right person, to meet that person that you would not have met had the other relationship not ended. So if you want to look at it on the brighter side of things, look at it from the perspective is that the perfect person for you may still be out there, may be available to you and for you if you're willing to get yourself together and to move forward. If you take that time off that we talk about to get yourself together, to focus on you, to concentrate on you, to build your relationship with the Lord, to build your relationship with your kids, to build your relationship with your family, your grandkids, your friends, and all those things that you did not have time for because of the relationship that you were in, and the amount of time that it required of attention that it required from you. So if you think about it like that, you'll see there's a great benefit to being able to move on. Now, lucky enough that if you're able to maintain a relationship and stay in one and all those things are intact, you and the person love your kids, your family, your friends, your loved ones, and everything is peachy keen, then that is the most optimal situation that you want to be in. But we're talking about the situations that don't work. We're talking about the situations that don't last. Those ideal situations are absolutely perfect, and I wish they were true for each of us and all of us in our daily lives and living. But let's just focus on the ones that don't work. And when they don't work for a reason. And to be perfectly honest, the reason why it doesn't work doesn't really matter in as much as it does you accepting the fact that it did, and it's time for you to think about moving forward. After a time to yourself, after a time for some God in your life, after a time for some self-care, some self-love, and all those things that are really, really, truly important to you. Because self-care is probably the best care that you can give yourself. But the type of care you really want is the care that you get from another person who will love you like you love them, who will treat you like you treat them, who will be there for you, with you, and so desire to be there and want to be there. So it's a beautiful thing on both ends. So you have to know when to hold and when to fold, and when to be able to say, okay, this is it, that's it. I've met the right person, or I'm in the right situation, or whatever that is for you. But I wanted to make sure that you understand and understood in preparing yourself to move on while dealing with the demise of the previous relationship, is that there is a benefit to moving on. Just recently, as we listened to this story about the young lady in, I think it was Alabama, where she professed that there was a child on the side of the road, and she thought that the child was in harm's, and she tried to do whatever she thought she could do to help the child, save the child. But and when you listen to the story that the police tell and the story that the news is broadcasting, you begin to know that mental health is really, really real. And you often wonder why people do some of the things that they do. I will tell you that a lot of times people do things because they're hurting, because they're lost, because they're starving for attention and affection. And just to be able to get attention, just to be able to feel wanted and feel needed is such a tremendous factor in so many people's lives that they are willing to do anything to create that environment for themselves. I know a lot of people would probably want to throw the book at her, realizing that this was probably a fraudulent reported incident, when they realized that she was really not in harm's way, and she premeditated all of this. Let us remind ourselves not to be judgmental in this situation, but to maybe just look at the backdraft and kind of figure out what would put a person in the mindset that they will have to do this kind of thing, that they will have to go that far to get attention, to fill a void. When you think about it, it's a hurtful thing. It's a hurtful thing to accept the fact that somebody would do that much, somebody would go that far to get attention that they're not getting, that they want and need so much. Everybody can't handle a breakup. Everybody can't handle a loss. Everybody can't handle being by themselves. And some people compensate it by doing other things, and then there are others who overcompensate those situations by doing really, really drastic things. And those things can be not just harmful to themselves, but harmful to others and the community at large. We hear about shootings here and shootings there, and people killing this and killing that, and their loved ones. And I mean, here of late, you hear about so many women. I'm sorry about this fly, guys. You hear about so many women that are being arrested for murder and for killing their lovers and things. It is absolutely mind-boggling. You know, my point to all of this is not to continually to harp on tragedies and tragic situations and moments in people's lives, but I want you to understand that those things that affect us most are the things that are in our heads and the things that are in our hearts. And most of that relates to relationships that we have with others, or the non-relationships that we don't have with others. Nevertheless, the heart and the mind are the most powerful things that we have in our arsenal, and those things have to align with each other. They have to be in agreement with each other as how we're going to live and how we're going to handle and maintain and manage ourselves and our relationships, our hearts and our feelings, and all those things that are truly important to us. Again, remember that that it's never easy to lose a relationship, to let a relationship go and attempt to move on, because to be honest, what's out there waiting can be wow, I don't even want to say it, but to be honest, that it is a task trying to piece together the right person or the right situation for yourself, living in this world that we're living in. And things are so crazy and people are so crazy, it almost makes you not want to re-engage at all. But remember this, that life is for the living. Let the dead bury the dead. And if you're still here and you're still breathing, there's still breath in your body, God says that there is someone out there for you. There's a purpose for you. There is a place for you. And there's also a place for someone else in your life to occupy that space. It may take some doing, and it may some time and some creativities and whatever it might take to acquire that new relationship or that new person. And don't give up. Don't give in. Trust God. Trust the process. Write it down. Make it plain, your visions, and let God know what it is you want, you're looking for, you need in your life, and trust the process. Remember that nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. And you don't want to be the sleeper. You want to be on your game. You want to be on the job. You want to be able to prepare yourself to be in receivership of that which God has coming your way. So this has been part 2 of what do you do while you're waiting for your next mission or purpose, your next relationship, the next right person in your life. I will tell you to continue to work on yourself, continue to allow yourself plenty of self-love, self-care. Don't close the door. Don't hibernate yourself. Stay in the game. There's a reason why there's people sitting on the bench. Think about that. There is a reason why in every competition there are players that are seated on the bench. Think about that, why they are there. And if you don't know, in part 3, we'll discuss what the bench looks like for the home team. So listen, thank you for your ears. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your sharing. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your subscribing. I pray that you will continue to share, like, and subscribe, that you will continue to offer your comments and suggestions. We have embarked upon a year anniversary of Talking After Dark. I pray that I will continue to provide this opportunity for your listening ears and entertainment. I pray that we will move from the point of a novice to a genuine broadcast and podcast opportunity, and that we will continue to get better and look for more content and look for opportunities to bring this to another level. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you, God keep you, and I'll see you for part 3 later. Thank you.